أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Thanks to Allah the Almighty for being able to be present in this session. We are going to have a session in Atma School, and we are going to have a discussion about one of the great scholars, Allamah Bahabadi Yazdi. First of all, I'd like to greet all you presenters and audience that are here, and for those who are going to be part of our community in this session, welcome to our session. I hope that this presentation and this program will be very informative for you and take note from the discussions going to be discussed here. As I mentioned, this session is going to be discussing about one of the great scholars of Islamic ideology, and we are going to talk about this person, the one who has a great right upon all of us. He is very famous for his logic book, and he's one of the books that mostly in seminaries is going to be taught and discussed, and this is Mantiq. Allamah Bahabadi Yazdi is very well known, and we are going to be focusing in detail about the books that are probably missed or neglected in some spheres. So we can say that this scholar is famous because of his logic book, but right now we are going to focus and concentrate on a jurisprudential aspect of this scholar. We are here to be discussing about some aspects in jurisprudence, inshallah. First, I'd like to mention an ayah in Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Allah the Almighty says in Surah Zumar, ayah number 9, هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون? Do you think that those who know are equal to those who don't know? It shows that the importance of knowledge in Islamic perspective. So we are going to talk about a person who dedicated his life for Islam and for enlightening seminaries and all human beings. And also we have a narration from the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which says, إِنَّ الْعُلَمَاءَ وَرَثَةُ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. Indeed, scholars are the heirs of prophets. So we are going to talk about a person who is very famous, and we are indebted to him. So we are supposed to talk about this person, his personality, his approach in Shia perspective. And also we have a narration from Imam Ali alayhi salam in which he says, "Man waqqara aliman faqad waqqara rabbah." The one or whoever respects alim, scholar, indeed he has respected Allah the Almighty, his Lord. So we are going to present something and dedicate it to one of the scholars in Shia ideology. He is Mullah Abdullah Behbahani, and the topic is analyzing the thought of Allamah Bahabadi. So we are in this opportunity talking about this person, and this is the first session, and we have two presenters here. First of all, we'll start with Dr. Abdul Majid Muballaghi, faculty member of Institute for Humanities and Cultural Studies. The topic that this doctor who is going to deliver is Shia rationality in the Safavid era, the role of the scholars and the approach of Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi. And then we'll be discussing and hearing the speech and the lecture and presentation of Dr. Yahya Jahangiri from Iqra Qom, Organization for Islamic Culture and Communication. And the topic will be Allamah Bahabadi's comprehensiveness of the intellectual and transmitted science. So we have this session. This is directly in person, and also we have online session for those who are going to take benefit from their lesson, inshallah, through media and social media. So this program session is organized by the Secretariat of the Allamah Bahabadi Yazdi International Conference, in partnership with the Institute for Contemporary in Jurisprudence Studies and in association with the Islamic Cultural Relations Organization. So, first of all, we invite Dr.
Our guest.
Okay, no problem. We'll start with Dr. Yahya Jahangiri. We are eager to listen to his presentation and take benefit from the notes, inshallah. If there's any question, we can ask, inshallah, later on. But right now, we are going to focus on the speech of this great scholar. Inshallah, after that, we'll shift to Mr. Dr. Muballaghi. Bismillah.
Doctor, you can start first, please.
Okay. If you're ready for discussion, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, no, he's saying that you start the discussion.
No. Yeah, we will start.
As he ordered, I do my job.
Okay, according to the schedule, we should start with, I think, if you're ready for...
Always he gives
Okay.
his own right to me.
Okay.
Sacrifice himself.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين آمين يا رب العالمين. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to thank in the very beginning of the lecture to the secretary of the Congress, to the Allamah Bahabadi. My special thank to the Dr. Abdipur, the head of the Congress, and also the secretary of the session, my brother Hujjat al-Islam wal Muslimin, Ghazan Fari, as well as my special thank to Dr. Muballaghi, the faculty member of the university. I would like today, without any hesitation, to go to the topic. I would like to talk today about the comprehensiveness of the Allamah Bahabadi to the textual and also rational aspect of the knowledge. Before going to the topic, I would like to enlighten and elaborate the importance of this topic. Why I'm to talk about this topic, or why it is important to talk about the comprehensiveness of one alim regarding to the reason and intellectual and rational aspect of his works, alongside to his textual or what we call in our teaching naqliyat, the text based of his works as well. When we study the life of the Allamah Bahabadi, we find that still the method he uses in his research and his works is very beneficial, can be very beneficial to us today, the Islamic researchers and Islamic students. As well as when we study his comprehensiveness, we find that one very important point. We find that how one scholar, while being a well-learned scholar in ilm al-mantiq, in logic, which is very rational logic, also writing the commentary to the tajreed, which is a philosophical book, very reason-based book. Still, he's coming and writing the book about, or comment about Al-Qawa'id, which is the fiqh book. You see how combine the both of them is very important. So I would today, based on this topic, I will go through how he combined the different, what we call it today, very widely opponent topics to each other in a way that he combined them. I will go through this discussion that how he combined these two methods. Then I will discuss about what was the result of this combination. Dear scholars, I think this second is more important. We see that, for example, one of his classmates is Muqaddas Ardabili. You see also not as much as the Allama Bahabadi is, but still when we look to the works of the his classmate Muqaddas Ardabili, we see that subhanallah, how being attached to the reason affected his work in fiqh in a way that, for example, regarding to the alcohol usage, like the khamr we say it, or regarding to the some of the ahkam are regarding Shia Sunnis, we see he has a special views. There is one paper, Ara'i Fiqhi Muqaddas Ardabili. When we look to this paper, we see that how being attached to the intellectual aspect of the research affects even your fiqhi approaches. In a way that we can find, this is very important. One of the problems in methodology of our juridical studies is that sometimes we are very text attached in a way that we are beyond of using the what we call it, using the reason. We cannot benefit of that as it is. We see that regarding to the result, I will come back again. So in first, I will discuss that. What is the importance of the combination and being comprehensive regarding to the reasoning and also being text-based, having text-based method. Then the result. We see how the result would be beneficial for the Islamic studies. Also, we see that the third point, which is very important, the era of the Allama Bahabadi he was living in. It is very, very important time. I think Dr. Muballighi will go through that discussion. But you know that he's living in an era what we call in Farsi Salajika, or we can say that Selçukis. They went, they have been, actually the era has been expired. Now, the Muslim Ummah are entering, or the Iranians are entering the Safavid era. This era, this special era is very important. I would like to highlight some of the points. You know that Salajika, they were very radical Sunnis. Also, they were very radical Hanafi Sunnis. Now, the atmosphere in Iran is in a way that they are approaching to the Safavid era. And Allama Bahabadi is living in this era. You see how when we read Allama Bahabadi, he is like a mirror. He shows that how was the atmosphere and era at this time, at this special time. This is very important to learn from him as well. For example, we see that one of the thing we can, as Allama Bahabadi is mirror to us, we see that the method of writing, or let's say the format of writing, at that time is the form of Hashiyani, commentating. In a way that I think it is very important. I will come to this discussion that no one is interested to go to produce a work independently. Still, he tries, even he has his own view, he want to put it alongside with the greatest scholar they were before him. He has a very great view in Al-Mantiq. But still, Allama Bahabadi never produced his own views in an independent book. Tries to put it as a comment to the Al-Mantiq. Or when it comes to the tafsir, he is as well. I think his manner is very important. It is not only commentating. I would like to sum up inshallah, at the end of my lecture, I will sum up that he is mediator of the one thought to the another thought. How? By his manner, personal manner, by his method of research, by the way he was acting regarding social aspect and the spiritual aspect, by the way of acting between Shia and Sunnis, how he is being a mediator between reasoning and also being the text attached, text-based approach. If I've been asked to make an image regarding to the Allamah Bahabadi, I would say that he is the mediator. He is the mediator between reasoning and the text-based. He is the mediator between Shia and Sunnis. He is the mediator between being a socialist and also the spiritualist. He is the mediator between that philosophy of the Ishraq and also the philosophy of after him. Because Allamah Bahabadi passed away in 981 and Mullah Sadra was born in 980. We see that, if I'm right, 971 or 981. Exactly the year he passed away in Shiraz. We see that the same year in Shiraz someone is born as Sadr al-Mutallahi Mullah Sadra. He is playing his own role of how to mediate between the falsafa of Ishraq, to pass it, to promote it, then to pass it to Mullah Sadra. He is very mediator between the thoughts. So why he is so? The reason is that he is the mediator. He had the comprehensive approach. That's why my topic is comprehensiveness of Allamah Bahabadi. His jami'iyat and comprehensive is very important. Look to his works. So, by Allamah Bahabadi, as his mirror, we understand that what was going on in the 10th century of the Allamah Bahabadi he was living in. On that century, he is writing some of books in Arabic and in Persian. It is the mediating. Look how many aspects I mentioned that he is mediating. Why is that? Why is writing in Persian? Because at the time of the Selçukis, they emphasized, they were, as I mentioned, they were radical Sunnis, radical Hanafi Sunnis, but also they were very interested in Persian literature. So he sees that, he witnesses that now it is the time to write a comment, but in the Persian language as well. He is writing in Arabic as well as in Persian. Here, let's come to his works of the Allamah Bahabadi. His jami'iyat and comprehensiveness produced in a way that Salajiqa, they were anti-Shia. Now, we are approaching after, before him are Salajiqa, they were anti-Shia and they were radical Sunnis. And after him, it is Safawite, which Safawite, they are very Shia and somehow a bad tendency to the Sunnism. What is the role of one alim in this era? Before you are Selçukis, they are Hanafite, Sunnis, radicals. And after you would be the Safawite, they are Shias. What is the role of one alim here? The role of alim here is that he is writing the book or let's say he is commenting to the books of the ulama of the Sunnah. If he is commenting to the Mantiq and writing Hashiyah of Mullah Abdullah, he is commenting to the book of one Sunni alim. If he is it is not only in Mantiq, it is in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in Tafsir as well. He is commenting to the Tafsir of Al-Bayzawi. You see, Bayzawi is Sunni alim. I think he was very smart of his work in a way that he see that if I want to make a comment, I have to select the one who is the Sunni. That's why he selects the work of the Baydawi. And you know the tafsir of Baydawi is very, what we call it, very sarfi, nahwi and balaghi tafsir. When he sees that, the Salajika, they are Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, they are anti-Arabic literature, insisting in Persian language. He, as an Iranian, insists to the greatness of the Arabic literature. I think it is not by chance to say that he selected the book. He, by his smartness, by very consciousness, he selected the book to mediate between the Arabic literature as well as the Persian literature. What is the result of that? We said that one of our discussion is that what is the result of being comprehensive of these both? We see at this time, last night I was reading one book. He used a very good term for this era. He says that at this era, we have the Sunni Shias or Shia Sunnis, in a way that some of the Sufis before this era, they had not good tendency to the Ahlul Bayt's teaching. At this time, we see that they have a kind of passion to the Ahlul Bayt teaching, in a way that after him, we have the Tariqat Sufi of Zahabiyya. You know, there's a Zahabiyya Tariqat Sufi is, we can call them a pure Sufis, in a way that they are very close to the Ahlul Bayt's teaching. Why this group, why the Zahabi Sufi are produced in this era? Why is that we have some of the group in a way that Sunnis are being familiar to the Shiism? Why is that we have the Shia, they are being familiar to the Sunnism? Is the works of Allamah Bahabadi. We are in need of this approach, brothers and dear scholars. We see that if before the Allamah Bahabadi, it was the Salajakat era, in a way that they were anti-Shia, and after him we have the Safawite, they are a bit anti-Sunnis. Here we see that he is mediating between them. A kind of mediating, or let's say the reconciliation between these two different aspects. So he not only in his actually manner, but also in his works, he tries to select the books of the Sunni ulamas and to make a comment to their works. I don't know how many hours or minutes. So I have what?
Many months.
Many months. I think I can minimize it in 10 or 5 minutes. Is it okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Whether if there is Q&A, we can appreciate their works as well. Here we see that the mediation between the Shia Sunnis, or as you said, the reconciliation between Shia and Sunnis, or the being as a bridge between the Salajikite approach to the Safawite approach. Also, being a bridge of the friendship between Shia and Sunnis in a way that in this era we see some of the Shia Sunni friendship. I think it is the role of the Allamah Bahabadi, as well as making Shiite community familiar with the Sunni ones as well. I would like to add one more point. How is playing his own role of the mediating as a mediator. Before him, we have the philosophy of Ishraq as a dominant philosophy on that era. You see, in the 6th century or 9th century, the philosophy of Ishraq is the dominant philosophy at the Islamic world. But as I said, the year he passes away, Mullah Sadra is burning. And subhanAllah, the very era he is passing away, the Yazd and Shiraz era, if we believe that Allamah Bahabadi is buried in this era is very close to each other. We see that one alim passes away, another one is being born, Mullah Sadra. We see that if the works of Mullah Sadra, as he called it, the Hikmah Muta'aliyah, transcendent philosophy or Theosophy, as Sayyid Hossein Nasr mentions that as a Theosophy, not a philosophy. By the way, this kind of Theosophy or philosophy is being produced by the Mullah Sadra. So question is that, what is the background of the Mullah Sadra regarding this combination of the reasoning and also relying to Quran and Hadith? Sayyid Hossein Nasr in his book mentions that there is no page or no portion in the books of the Mullah Sadra in a way that he refers to some of the verses of the Quran or Hadiths. Based on this understanding of Sayyid Hossein Nasr of the Mullah Sadra, so question is that, does it being born, this method was born suddenly by Mullah Sadra, or it has a background, historical background? When we look to the, if we believe that it is not just by sudden, each science is a circle, it has a background. It is being promoted by one scholar. So here we see that one of the backgrounds of the Mullah Sadra is the works of the, let's say, Allamah Bahabadi. He did before. In a way that we see Allamah Bahabadi, before Mullah Sadra, he's combining between al-mantiq and al-qawaid fil fiqh. He's combining between the commenting to the Tajrid al-i'tiqad and also in his book of Durratul Ma'ani fi tafsir Surat Al-Hamd or Surat Al-Ikhlas. So we see that he's combining between Quran and philosophy. He's combining between al-fiqh and the logic. In a way that when you look to the Allamah Bahabadi, you would see that this man is the man of combination. This man is the man of the mediating. This man is being to make a comprehensive approach to the sciences of the reasoning and also the text-based works as well. This method of being comprehensive, it is not only in the academic works of the Allamah Bahabadi, but also we see in his own manners as well. That's why initially I wanted to point my title of lecture as the Allamah Bahabadi's, his manner and method of comprehensiveness. Because in his manners, he is also as well. Look, he has a good relationship with the Safavid leaders, Safavid dynasty, as well as he is serving in the financial issue of the Imam Ali's Holy Shrine while being very spiritual. You see, sometimes you are very spiritual man, but you would like to deprive yourself from being attached to the financial issues, because those of issues deviates your mind from the spirituality. And sometimes you are attached to the spirituality, you hesitate to be in financial issues. We see that this man tries to combine all of them together. I don't like to go through the spiritual or what we call it, some of the karamat narrated from the Allamah Bahabadi. Just I would like to say that the man in this position of spirituality is still he is current the financial issues of the haram of Imam Ali alayhi salam to be a mediator. Also, I was reading in his manner of mediating. We saw he was mediating between the Safavid dynasty and also the Shiite community. They were suffering from some of the social problems. To conclude and to sum up the discussion, I would like to say that when we look to the Allamah Bahabadi, and if we sum up and give a brief image of the Allamah Bahabadi, we have to say that he is the mediator of the everything. Mediator in method, mediated in manner. In manner of his personality, he tries to mediate between the Shiite community problem and the Safavid dynasty. In his manner of the mediating, we see he is mediating between the spirituality and social aspect of the life. Also in method, we see that, which is very important, and today we have to learn from Allamah Bahabadi. That's why we have to thank those who are in charge of this conference, who underlined and highlighted the position of Allamah Bahabadi. We see that how he's combining between Shia and Sunnis by referring to the books of the Bayzawi, by referring to the books of the Sunni scholars, commenting to them. He was able. I'm not well scholared in the logic, but as you know, in the beginning of the session, you mentioned that his book of Hashimullah Abdullah, it was the famous book and also the very authentic book in the Hausa for long years and maybe the centuries to read his book. He was able to have his own views as an independent book in a way that to make his own view an independent works. But we see that he is commenting to the book of the others. I think one sign of this is that on that time commenting was one of the regular method of research. Commentating was one of the regular, or comment writing was one of the regular message. And the second is that I think he was very smart and cautious of this topic, that he tried to make a kind of reconciliation, as you mentioned, between Shia and Sunnis. He knows that now the dynasty of Selçukis are passing away, and the era we are approaching to the Safavid. He should play his own role. He knows that one radical Sunnis are moving away and another Shia group are coming to the power. Who should be the bridge? It is the role of Alim to should be the bridge and reconciliator. And also in his work, by combining the reasoning and text, we see that he opened the gate for the hikmat of the Muta'aliya of the Mullah Sadra in a way that before him we have the Ishraqi Sohrawardi's philosophy, which is based on the illumination of the Ishraq. But here, he opens the gate to the Mullah Sadra in a way that Mullah Sadra in his Hikmat Muta'aliyah, he refers to the Quran and Hadith. In an extent that Sayyid Hussein Nasr says that I won't call the philosophy of Mullah Sadra as a philosophy, but a theosophy. Because it is, when you look to the works of Mullah Sadra, it is not a pure philosophy, reasoning, but also you see the sources of the theology as well. So I would like to end here. Maybe there would be time. I will go through rest of my lecture. Thank you for the opportunity, and I would like to thank Dr. Abdipur, the chair of the Congress, for providing the opportunity to talk about the Allamah Bahabadi, and also you, the dear scholars who are by person here, and those who are watching the program online. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jahangiri, for your, I can say, informative presentation. And right now we are going to shift to Dr. Abdelmajid Muballighi, the faculty member of Institute for Humanities and Cultural Studies. So we start a discussion with this respected doctor and take benefit from the points he's going to mention in this session.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Thank you for your good presentation, Dr. Jahangiri. And let me start with stating my thanks to my friend, Dr. Abdipur, who is in charge of the Congress of Allamah Bahabadi Yazdi, and also my friends in the Research Institute of the Studies of Contemporary Jurisprudence, and Dr. Jahangiri, which we already received his presentation, and also Dr. Ghazanfari, which is provided us with so many good insights at the beginning of our session. So my presentation is going to have two steps. It is divided to two steps. In the first part of my presentation, I will speak about the role of Shia scholars in Safavid period of time. And in the second part of our discussion, I will focus on Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi Yazdi's effects on social issues and knowledge-oriented aspects of his life. In the first part of our discussion, I will try to provide you with focus on the status and function of Shia scholars in relation to the Safavids era, both internally and externally. So on the internal level, I will discuss the function of Shia scholars in promoting the legitimacy of the royal house of Safavids and other aspects of it, which is like the role that ulamas took place in promoting them. And at the other level, I will try to show how ulamas took place on the middle of the conflict happened between Ottomans and Safavids. So how they were so important in this battlefield. Then at the second part, we will speak about socio-political approach of Mullah Abdullah with a focus on the city of Najaf and his knowledge tendency, which is well known by his approach toward rationalism and his scholastic discourse on Shiism and different aspects of his role in promoting especially the knowledge of logic. So that's a somehow road plan of my discussion today with you, my friends. And I will start with the role of Shia scholars in the Safavid period of time. Shia scholars played a critical role in the establishment and consolidation of the Safavid Empire in the 16th century. And that's so important because we have to keep in our mind the religious legitimacy of Safavids was due in large to the contribution made by these Allamahs. The Safavids were a dynasty that came to power in Iran in 1501, which is an iconic historical moment. We can coin this moment as a beginning of the contemporary era of the history of Iran. 16th century can be seen such an iconic historical moment because at that time the nature of political and social events of Iran dramatically changed. The territorial integrity that we have nowadays, which at the heart of it is today's Iran located. The nature of social political approaches from that time up to now. The nature of the way that people of Iran were referring to their language, the way that refer to their nationality, all are somehow in association with what happened by the appearance of this dynasty at the beginning of the 16th century. So Safavids are well known for their strict and strong loyalty and faithfulness to 12-verse Shiism. As we know it, it's so clear and crystally well known for everyone. But there are some arguments and debates over the authenticity of Safavids' claim to be Shia before gaining power. Even there are some historians that they stress on this hypothesis that Safavids were originally Sunni Muslims, but they converted to Shiism in the late 15th century. So several decades. It means they became Shia several decades before catching power and become the royal family of Iran. These historians claim that Safavids converted to Shiism gradually, step by step. Somehow, we can say, under blind lights. And even before it, they were loyal to Hanafi jurisprudence. This kind of historical approach toward Safavids stress on so many historical, let's say, evidences to prove its tendency toward the background of Safavids. They say Sheikh Haydar, the grandfather of the first Safavid ruler, Shah Ismail, who was such a Shia scholar, and who was studied under a number of leading Shia scholars in Iraq and Iran, and had a charismatic leadership, let's say, was the one who helped the Safavids and to convince them. In fact, he convinced his followers to convert to Shiism as we know it. Anyway, those Safavids who took the power were proud to be seen and recognized as so strictly and firmly as Shia rulers. That's clear, and there is no doubt on that, and there is no discussion around it. These people who came to power relied on two sources of strength to promote their position and stand and to gain legitimacy. First, they believed that they were descended from the seventh Shia Imam Musa Kazem, peace be upon him. So this statement potentially could help them to excuse, at least to some extent, their desire and wish to occupy the position of the infallible Imams during the Greater Occultation era in accordance with religious calendar of Shia. As we know, in Shia, we have a calendar which starts, or let's say, which one of the most important turning point of that calendar is the beginning of the Greater Occultation time. So based on that, they claim to be rightful and lawful leader for being a Shi'i king of Shi'i country. But the second one, which is so important and returns directly to the discussion we have nowadays, we have now here, is their tendency to establish a government based on Shia doctrine of hukumat, the doctrine of governance. So if we return to the beginning of the Greater Occultation era, which is such an important part of our history, we will face with two theological frameworks. One theological framework was about, let's say, quietism. The other was about activism. So within the activist approach and discourse framework of theology, different jurisprudential doctrine took place and gradually became visible. The most important one, which is associated with the contingency of the, let's say, theological discourse of Shia, the activist theological discourse of Shia, was the doctrine of governance, the doctrine of government. Both are somehow recorded in the terminology of jurisprudence of Shia, or the doctrine of hukumat, as we in Persian call it. Within this doctrine of hukumat, within this doctrine of governance, different approaches emerged. First, it was about occupying the position of the infallible hidden imam, the imam which was disappeared like the sun behind the cloud. They used to use this metaphor, when a sun goes behind the cloud or clouds, you don't see it. You have no chance to see the sun itself. Still, you have the outcome of its existence and its presence, because you receive the light, you receive the warmness. So this metaphor was so famous to depict how this doctrine tries to illustrate the manner of existence of Imam via the greater occultation era of history. So in accordance with this doctrine, Imam is not available, at least to some extent. But still, there are Ullamahs, the Shia scholars and clerks who are in charge of governing the society on behalf of the Imam. So they are not in charge of the government independently, but they are supposed to do it as somehow representatives of the Imam. In the first level, in the first interpretation of this doctrine, they were not allowed to give this position to someone else, just ruler, as we have this term in our terminology of jurisprudence. So they were supposed to do it by themselves in person. But later, when the longness of the greater occultation era of the history was really serious for so many centuries, that first they thought it's going to be years, then it became decades, then it became centuries. For after so many centuries of waiting, they came to a conclusion which was really dramatical change, made a paradigmic shift. And this conclusion was like, okay, if the Imam is not going to appear very soon, and if the Ullamahs are supposed to govern the society due to the conditions and situations, when it's not impossible for them to do it in person, they have the right, or some even says they are supposed to do, they should to give permission to the just ruler. And when we speak of just ruler in the terminology of Shia scholarship, it doesn't mean that we are addressing a person who is acting so fair. No, it's just ruler means Shia ruler, a one who has took power, who has the dominance by the shine of his sword, of course, but still he's a Shia, he's not Sunni, he's not, or he's at least he's like Mongols, he's not Shia, but he's ready to follow the benefits of Shiism. So this kind of understanding of the doctrine of hukumat took place, and this dynasty of Safavids had the chance to benefit from this doctrine. They tried to associate themselves with this doctrine by the help provided by Muhaqqaq Haraki and his followers, who were so many Jabal Amali scholars came to Iran gradually, then Iranian scholars and let's say Ullamahs who followed him. So this doctrine says during the greater occultation era, religious scholars, and I mean Shia clerics by religious scholars, have to manage to lead the community of Shias on behalf of the hidden Imam. And now if they don't find themselves in a position to gain power and to put this ideal on practice, they can or they should, due to the conditions, give permission to just rulers, which I explained what does it mean. So Safavids were considering themselves those just rulers who deserve to recognized as legitimate power owners of Iranian kingdom, which is the Shia kingdom. So at the time of its establishment, let's say Safavids faced a number of challenges, including the position of the Sunni majority in Iran and the threat of the Ottoman Empire. That's the other aspect in which ulamas of Safavids helped this dynasty. The scholars played a great role in overcoming these challenges. I mean, the fact that the majority of population of Iran were Sunnis, and the fact that the Ottoman Empire was gaining power. Of course, when they came to power, Ottoman Empire was so small. But step by step, it became like a gigantic monster. So big, so powerful everywhere, just with so many branches. So the problem was really, let's say, serious for them. They did this, solving this problem or trying to solve this problem by issuing fatwas. So religious ulamas, religious clerics and scholars helped Safavids by issuing so many fatwas and to help them to solve this problem. They declared Safavids not only as legitimate rulers of Iran, but also as those who have the right to spread out Shiism throughout the country. This expansion of Shiism throughout the country was such an important issue, and we know how Muhaqqaq Karaki helped them in so many occasions, and others, of course. And of course, in the conflict between them and Ottomans, they wrote so many texts to provide them with religious excuses to face with the Ottomans. It helped to legitimize Safavids and in the eyes of Iranian people also. Iranian people accepted the presence of Safavids based on what ulamas have done for them. So it shows how essential and really crucial Shia scholars were to the Safavids, which wished to carry religious legitimacy for founding a Shia sovereignty in Iran. So Shia scholars, and more specifically followers of Muhaqqaq Karaki, issued fatwas that supported the Safavids' claims to be seen and to be considered, let's say, as right man and correct leader for Iran and this place and this time of history. Let's go a little faster forward to reach to other issues. I just want to remember what happened in Herat. We know when Shah Ismail came to Herat, he killed one of the Sunni scholars of that city because he didn't accept, he refused to be Shia. So a little later, Muhaqqaq Karaki came there and reached there, and he was so angry because of this act of killing. He said, if I was there, I would convince him to become Shia and convert to the Shiism. So that shows how they tried to make it smooth, not just focused on force and power, because Shah Ismail and others, at least to some extent, somehow were trying to, this process of spreading of Shiism goes forward a little faster than what it was expected to be done, with considering the fact that most of the people and majority of people of Iran were not Shias. So I go faster and just don't continue with this part of my discussion. Other important issues which we can see the contribution of ulamas is the construction or reconstruction, or let's say the repairment of Shia holy shrines, which took place by the power of Safavids. So Safavids built so many mosques, so many shrines throughout their empire to promote Shia worship and pilgrimage. And at that time, Shiite festivals started to come back on the street again, like what we had it during the time of olive whites. So Shia scholars also helped to build and maintain Shia mosques and shrines. And we had a, let's say, network of mosques and shrines and places for people who were related to the clerics and scholar of Shiism. So this network was so important in spreading out not only the Shiism but also the power of the ulamas who were in charge of religious abilities of the society. Other important issue in which we can see how ulamas were playing role was the conflict between Safavids and Ottomans, especially over the holy shrines. The Safavid and Ottoman empires were two dominant powers in the Middle East in 16th and 17th century. The two empires were rivals for control of the region, and their conflict extended to the control of the holy shrines of Shia Islam in Iraq. So these holy shrines were so important because those who has power and dominance over the shrine of Imam Hussein in Karbala, Imam Ali in Najaf, and other holy shrines of Shia in Baghdad city could benefit from it in so many aspects and dimensions. So the Safavid-Ottoman conflict over the holy shrines was a complex and multifaceted conflict with political, ideological, cultural, and even military dimensions. The conflict had a significant impact on the development of Shia Islam in the Middle East, and it helped to shape the religious and political landscape of the region for centuries to come. Even nowadays, somehow we are living in a situation which is affected by what happened during the Safavids conflict with Ottomans over the controlling of these holy shrines. So the Safavids and Ottomans were rivals to control these places. In conclusion, as we know, Shiite scholars played a crucial role in the rise and success of the Safavids, at least to some extent. Even it was not stable, and as we know, later Ottomans took place the control of these two important Shiite cities, and we know the treaty that made between them in the time of Nadir king, and what happened after it. I don't want to go to details, and I prefer to go faster to the other part of our discussion. Okay, I have some, let's say, ideas about the competition between Ottomans and Safavids in different aspects of the issue: the political ideological factors, the social ideological factors, the cultural ideological factors. Because of the shortness of time, I prefer not to stay for a long time here. I just want to say the city of Najaf was so important in this competition. The Najaf seminary played a crucial role in the Safavid-Ottoman conflicts over the holy shrines. The seminary's scholars played a leading role in the Safavids' effort to spread Shiism to the other parts of the Islamic world. So there are so many details which I don't want to go on them. Just let's say this conflict had three phases. The first phase was in the 16th century over the control of holy shrine of Najaf and Karbala. The second phase was 17th century, and the last, which led to the treaty between them, was in 1639. So by that, I come to the end of my discussion on the first step of our talk, which was about the role of Safavids and ulamas at that time. The role of ulamas at the Safavids dynasty and different aspects of the issue. Now I start with speaking about Mullah Abdullah and his effect on social issues. Then I will go to the Mullah Abdullah's contribution to the knowledge-based and orientation aspects of his life. So the role of Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi Yazdi in the Safavid Ottoman includes a variety of aspects. But one important issue, which is related to the last topic, which I spoke about it, is the conflict between Safavids and Ottoman. Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi played a significant role, in fact, in that conflict. He tried to keep Najaf out of battle between these two emperors. He tried to make sure and to guarantee that Najaf is not going to be a battlefield zone between these two. And it was such an important work because it helped to protect the independence of the Shia community up to now. You know what he has done by just maintaining Najaf out of this problem between these two was so important. So to explain it, I have to return to the history. The presence of Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi in Najaf includes two phases, or let's say three phases. First, Bahabadi served as a representative of the Safavids in the whole city of Najaf. So at that time, Najaf was a well-known education center for Shiism, and it was under the authority and dominance of Kingdom of Iran. Bahabadi was responsible for administrating the shrine of Imam Ali, and even now, as my friend mentioned, his family continued to do it up to now. He played a role in promoting Shia scholastic approach throughout the region by this representation. Then Ottoman came to power, and let's call it the Ottoman phase of the dominance on Najaf. In that second phase of the conflict, the Ottoman conquered Najaf, and Bahabadi was able to remain in Najaf, and he continued to serve as the administrator of the Holy Shrine of Imam Ali. Again, it's such an important issue which shows the diplomatic capability and capacity of Bahabadi just to play between the roles, to play between the lines. So Bahabadi was able to maintain the position of Najaf as a center for Shiism because he was able to uphold good relations both with the Ottoman authorities and the Safavids as well. He also worked to ensure that the shrine of Imam Ali was protected and maintained, even though the authoritative power of Ottomans were almost everywhere on the city. So Bahabadi's role in the Ottoman phase of the conflict was so significant for a number of reasons. First, it was Bahabadi who helped to ensure that the shrine of Imam Ali remained a center for Shia learning and scholarship and not to be a battle zone between Safavids and Ottomans. And second, he was Bahabadi who helped to maintain the independence of the shrine as a Shia center for the community of Shiism and Shiists during the dominance of the Ottomans. So there are so many details. I just don't want to go through them because it takes time, about how he managed to keep the city out of the problem which really happened by the power of Ottomans. I'm afraid we don't have enough time. Let me go a little forward and reach to the contribution made by Bahabadi in terms of knowledge, especially the knowledge of logic. Bahabadi was a leading figure in the Safavid period in terms of knowledge as well. Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi was a significant figure in the field of scholastic knowledge and thought of Shiism, and that's so important. He was a great scholar who improved the methodological capacity of Shia traditional scholastic approach. It's so important in the Shia seminary. His work was influential in the development of Islamic philosophy, theology, law, but I want just to say his treasure, his tradition, which has been made and has been remained up to now, is mostly about knowledge. And it was so important because at that time, we have a transforming period of time from Helle Jabal Amel tradition to Esfahan Najaf tradition. So it was so, and you know, a paradigmic shift was taking place. Akhbaris were important, and these people of Akhbari were against whatever had something to refer to Sunni tradition. So rationalism, which was somehow associated with the theology, with some roots and background and traces to the Sunnism and Mu'tazila tradition, was seen not related to Shiism. So even people of Usul al-Fiqh, the principle of jurisprudence, even these people, especially those who were mostly in the city of Isfahan, were against, at least to some extent, with a kind of rationalism which had something in common with Sunnism. But people like Bahabadi tried to make a bridge between those ideas in the scholastic approach and discourse of Shiism, that even though they had something in common with Sunnism, but still they presented the great possibility, great contingency within the Shiism, which was really worthy and really important. So his is such a figure in between these two period of time. I mean the time of Helle Jabal Amel, school of thought, and Isfahan Najaf, school of thought. His work helped to shape the development of Shia thought in the coming centuries after him. Even nowadays, we are sitting around a table, and that the result of the efforts of Bahabadi is existed and visible. Bahabadi's contribution to the scholastic approach of Shiism can be traced if we focus on the usefulness of reason and logic in the study of Islamic study and Islamic theology and Islamic jurisprudence. You know, in a great range, we can see the traces of his contribution. Such a contemplation uncovers his effects in terms of methodology he made, methodological, let's say, contribution he made. And his works were so instrumental to enrich the scholastic methodology of Shia approach toward his historical capacity. He led us to have a potentiality to return to our tradition. Based on that, even up to now, his book on scholastic logic is considered particularly such an important and maybe unique work in this regard. So in his work, Bahabadi tried to provide us with a clear and concise description and exposition of Avicenna's philosophy, which itself is based on Aristotle's logic, as my friends know better than me. Such an approach was a key influence on keeping Shia's seminary of Najaf and of course Isfahan, related to its scholastic tradition, which was promoted by the scholars of Helle and Jabal a school of thoughts before Najaf and Isfahan. Those previous thriving school of Shia jurisprudence. So I just want to go to details because such an important issue needs to be a little more illustrated and try to show how the logic which Mullah Abdullah Bahabadi as he tried to promote it by returning to the work of Taftazani has something really important in its core, even when it comes to the jurisprudential argumentations and discussions. I go a little to detail to make it, God willing, a little more illustrated. So logic played a central role in the scholastic Shia jurisprudence and Islamic legal studies. It happened in three ways. I imagine we have a pyramid. So on the top of this pyramid, logic is like a tool for analysis and interpretation of jurisprudential texts, which I will explain it, how it plays such a role. And the middle of this pyramid is like a foundation, logic, for jurisprudential and legal reasoning. So first, it's about the mechanic of, let's say, discussion, jurisprudential discussion and statements in a more technical word. Then it's about the dynamic. At the bottom, at the surface of this pyramid, it's like an apparatus for defending religious beliefs. I will try to show how Mullah Abdullah's contribution to a scholastic discourse was in these three levels, in these three layers, so important to enrich Shia jurisprudential studies and to help it with some methodological capacity which was already existed before him. But he tried to transform it to the new phase of Shiism, which was happening in the city of Najaf and Isfahan, which were coupled with each other to some extent. I start with the first part, which is logic as a tool for analysis and interpretation of religious texts. When we speak about logic as a tool for interpretation of religious texts, in fact, we are speaking about the structuring, the shaping, the mechanic, let's say the mechanism of argumentations. How these jurisprudential argumentations are mechanically shaped and structured. So it happened in a variety of ways. Let's say the arrangement of syllogism, which my friends know syllogism is different with deductive and inductive argumentations. It's about the arrangement of the premises, how the premises comes together to make a conclusion. Even it's different with analogy, which is about the similarities between premises. So in three ways, what Mullah Abdullah has done by referring to the great work of Taftazani helped the Shia jurisprudential discourse to manage its argumentation. First, in identification of the premises and conclusions, to identify which sentences are real premises and which sentences are representing the conclusion of our legal jurisprudential argumentations. You know, one of the most important uses of logic in Islamic jurisprudential studies during the history was just finding the premises. You know, if you go to a text of jurisprudence, so many discussions are there. But the sharpness of logic helps us to detect those texts those sentences which are carrying the burden of premises, real premises, those premises who makes the syllogism, the logical arrangement of the premises. Let me provide you with a very famous example. When we say A is equal to B, so whatever is equal to B is forbidden, then A is forbidden. It's a syllogism. In a normal jurisprudential text, you don't face with such a pure syllogism. The premises are spread out everywhere in the text. That's logic, which instrumentally helps us to detect these premises and identify them. So the first important aspect of using logic in jurisprudential studies is identification of the premises and conclusion. So we have so many other examples. I don't go to the details. The other work is the distinguishing between the valid and invalid arguments and argumentations. Logic also has been used to distinguish between valid and invalid arguments. An invalid argument is one in which the conclusion does not follow the premises. So that's logic that helps us to arrange the syllogism in a way that the conclusion is systematically connected to the, let's say, premises. And okay, let's go faster. I have some ideas about it, but let's go faster. The last important aspect of using logic in syllogism, finding jurisprudential syllogisms, is resolving contradictions. So logic has been used historically to resolve the contradictions. Contradictions are those statements, syllogisms, the conclusion of syllogisms, which cannot be both at the same time true. You cannot say, here and now it's night, here and now it's day. There is a contradiction between them, but it's so pure. But when it comes to the complicated, sophisticated jurisprudential statements, it's not easy just to clarify those statements which are in contradiction with each other. that's, let's say, logic, which helps us to make a differentiation between them and sometimes resolve it. Like, if you say, I'm happy, and if you say, I'm sleeping, one can come and say there is a contradiction between them. You cannot be at the same time happy and asleep or awake. But it's the logic that comes and say, no, there is no contradiction. Because the premises was like that. One can be at the same time awake and happy. And at the same time, one can be asleep and happy. Because in our sleeping also we can experience being happy. So that's the logic which provides us with a kind of mechanism that helps us to go forward and say there is no contradiction here. And it's so useful in jurisprudential argumentation. The usefulness of such an approach has been proved so many times, as my friends are familiar with jurisprudential literature. Now I go to the middle of this pyramid, which is about the reasoning. In terms of reasoning, also logic helps us. Logic has been used as a foundation for legal reasoning, jurisprudential reasoning. After checking the healthiness, or let's say the structure of a statement, we are supposed to go to the dynamic that argumentation and a statement. We need to use logic to make sure that the reasoning is acceptable and meaningful in a statement, in a jurisprudential statement. So I don't want I have noted so many ideas about this issue. I don't have, we have, how much time do we have?
Some minutes.
Some minutes means how many minutes?
No, maybe 3 or 5 minutes.
3 or 5 minutes. So it's less than what? Okay, I just need to go so fast and neglect several parts of my notes. I just provide you with a list of what I was supposed to speak about it, at least in my mind, because it's not going to be on practice. Okay, I wanted to speak about 3 levels in detail, 3 levels of how reasoning is associated with logic, how we can use logic in order to make reasoning meaningful. First, when we use it as a rules of legal inference or intervention, and it has different aspects, so let's forget about it. Second, when we use it to establish the validity of legal syllogisms. And finally, to use logic to justify legal conclusion and how it happens. It's really important and interesting issue. If you have time, I will return to it. It depends on you, but now I just go fast. The last part of my discussion was about the basis of that pyramid, in which or on which logic helps jurisprudential argumentations to defend religious beliefs, like a theology, or at least here logic is coupled with theology, at least to some extent. I know there are so many discussions which I don't want to go through them. Here I wanted to speak about 3 levels of effectiveness of logic as an apparatus to help to defend the religious beliefs, especially when it comes to the jurisprudential argumentations. First, it was about the refuting or rejecting challenges which are going through religious beliefs, and it's going to defend religious beliefs by refuting these challenges. The second part was about the reconciling religious beliefs with scientific knowledge, how scientific knowledge and jurisprudential argumentations can come together. And the third, which is the last, but of course it's not the least one, was the promoting religious tolerance, which I wanted to speak about it, how logic helps us to have a more tolerance toward different issues when it comes to application of logic on jurisprudential discussions. But let's finish at this point with appreciating the time of attention of my friend, and I hope to find my friends here presented more, and in many other occasions, I'm open to your questions if there is a time, and if there is not a time, just let's say, I hope to see you in the next meeting, God willing. Thank you. I have no question, but it depends on you. You're the manager of the time and everything else here.
Since we are in the threshold of getting for prayer in a short of time, so we should thank doctors, brothers who gave a very meaningful, useful lecture in this case, in this scenario that we started to discuss about a logical point of view. Both friends and teachers, scholars, they discussed their points here, and I think Dr. Jahangir, he summarized his discussion, and also I think at the end, Dr. Muballigh, he came to a conclusion about the pyramid and how the logic can help us in the deduction or reaching a conclusion. So we were to have a kind of a new look at the ideological aspects which are neglected to some extent, and it deserves to focus on these aspects. And I hope that this center and other centers that they are going to have a cooperation, this field of study can have a kind of cooperation to each other to reach a conclusion, to have more discussion. So we had the first session on the relationship between rationalism and also focus on the text, and also the role of rationality in the Shia perspective, and also the effect, and also the impact of those schools of thoughts. I mean, Sunni, Shia, Hanafi, and also we have different political approaches in this case, and the impact of Safavid and the Ottoman Empire from different aspects. These doctors mentioned here. So I think that it deserves to be worked more than now. And also I think that some of the points that Dr. Mawal wanted to say, he just tried to finish that soon. So I think that there might be some other things can we discuss, can we go through and forward to discuss in details. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dear brothers and sisters, and also I should give my thanks to the secretary of the Allamah Bahabadi Yazdi International Conference, and also to the Institute for Contemporary Jurisprudence Studies, and also to the Islamic Cultural Relations Organization. And at the end, we should thank Allah the Almighty for this chance that He gave us to be able to discuss about these things in media, and also have this chance to dedicate our attention, our interest in these topics. And I hope that Allah the Almighty will give this chance to us to be able to have more understanding on Shia perspective and thought. Thank you very much. Recite salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.